What's up, what's up? It's time for Done Way Past Funny with your host, G.D. Fenderson. Join us as we discuss the arts, science, and business of comedy with comedians and comedian adjacent. With this episode's guest, Randy Levin. It's time to get down and get dope with Done Way Past Funny. Hi, I'm G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist and host of Done Way Past Funny. Thank you for joining us as we continue our interview with Randy Levin, former comedian and co-host of the documentary String Theory, Guitar Obsessed. Enjoy. Now, I want to play this clip. It's at Gotham. Is that the Gotham City Comedy, right? Gotham?
Yeah, Manhattan, yeah.
And we can talk about it on the other side.
Sure.
Okay.
Harrison, a round of applause. I'm on my second marriage, and I have to tell you, she's the best in my price range. I was a little bitter after I originally got divorced. I would tell people thinking about getting married, just save yourselves the time and aggravation. Just go up to a woman on the street you don't like and buy her a house. The rest of you will get that joke in a few years, trust me. Here's the weird thing now, in my second marriage, I'm 53 years, I didn't think about that. I'm 53 years old. I have twin 4-year-old girls. No. My life is pretty much over. I'm going to be in my 60s with teenagers, which has its advantages, too. You know, I could feign senility. Daddy, can I have $20? No, thank you. I just had tuna fish. Of course, now, it's still annoying because when I take my little girls for a walk, inevitably somebody on the street will say, oh, is Grandpa taking his little girls for a walk? Now I just play along. What? Kids? Where are my Shih Tzus? I was walking Shih Tzus.
First of all, I still laughed out loud with the what? No, thank you. I already ate tuna fish or something like that. I can't even remember now.
I appreciate it. So I at that point, so I was floundering with what I'm going to do, and I don't want to mention her name because I don't like her anymore, but there's a comedian. She was like, listen, you'd be great in Florida, like the condo circuit is
right.
huge.
Yeah.
So she said, I'm going to get you at Gotham. I want you to, I'll help you with what I want your set to look like. And we'll send it to my agent down there and you'd be great. And the condo circuit, I thought, was going to actually save me and keep me in show business because the money was great. Mm-hmm. You fly down to Florida, you could do 2 or 3. It was almost like the college circuit for 90-year-olds.
Right.
So the agent calls me and he puts me on a showcase. So the showcase, huge room filled with all these, older people. And I killed. It was great. He was like, oh, we're going to have you working all the time. And then somebody pulled me aside and said, I want you to remember something. The people on the committees, the people in the audience are on the committees for each of those condos. They're healthy enough to get into a car and drive here. That doesn't mean the audience is going to be as with it. And sure enough, the first condo, I fly to Florida, I get there and people are on oxygen tanks and people are sleeping and wheelchairs. And what are you saying? Talk louder. And it was like death. It was death. Then I did another one and this was the worst. So, it was a Yiddish club. Now, I don't speak Yiddish. I know one term, gave kakanaf hayam, which means go shit in the ocean. But the people that speak Yiddish fluently are usually European people.
Right.
And old European Jews might as well be Nazis. They have no sense. They're just like, this is not funny. And I'm doing my act. Nothing. I'm just dying. I'm just dying, and it was awful. And that the agent dropped me, and that was it. I didn't do any more. It was just, because again, those people in the showcase were there. They might have been 70 years old, but they're driving cars. They're able to do this. They're on committees. The people that come to these shows are 95 and dying. Now, listen, I did a few other shows, and some of them were pretty good. In fact, one of my favorite ad libs probably of all time. I played one of these places, and it was right after New Year's Eve, and the stage behind. Well, I was on the stage, but the wall, whatever year it was, I don't even remember a year. Giant letters, what year it is. And I looked at that sign, I looked at the people, and I looked at the sign, and I said, do you really need to be reminded? Like, holy shit, I don't have a lot of time left. That kind of thing. But yeah, that was that. Yeah, but that video was really used for that. I couldn't really use it for much else because surprisingly, and I think this is part of the reading of the writing on the wall too. So the guy that owns Gotham Comedy Club is the nicest guy in the world, really nice guy. And I heard he'll watch any of the things they do there and he'll critique it. So he watched that set and he called me up and he said, it's very funny for a specific audience, but because now things are hipper and cooler. And like that was 2009, 2010. Right. And the whole set, I didn't realize it. I thought that set works for everybody except for maybe, college kids, but comedy has changed and in what people talk about. And so some of that stuff might've translated, but I guess my age, everything else, like I'm not that cool, hip guy. And I also don't have edgy enough material to be the old guy who's really angry. You know what I mean? So
I just put together a show called Funny Old Farts. And the youngest person is in their late 50s, maybe 60. Our oldest comedian is 77.
Cool.
I'm in the middle. I'm 66. But it's Funny Old Farts. And again, because of the way it's billed, what you're getting,
And where audiences you're playing to.
Yes.
22-year-olds aren't coming to that show.
Well, some are, but it's because some things are universal.
True.
Relationships are universal. And then there's also some ways of telling people things like, okay, yeah, I was young once. Now I'm here. Let me tell you how I got here. Right. So there are ways of doing it, but yeah, I understand. I understand. Like I said, I find what you did. Like I said, I think you're very, very funny.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Now, what was the next thing I was going? Oh, I wrote it right here. Okay. What are your? Did you have comedy influences? Was there people that you looked up to say, even if you didn't emulate their style, let's say they just either inspired you or just kept you moving?
Not really, other than just loving, George, I wish I was George Carlin, that kind of thing, or seeing comedians. I remember in high school seeing a guy named Kelly Monteith.
Yes. Kelly, yes.
Show. And he's the guy that I was like, oh my God, you can just get up and make people laugh. And in fact, when I lived in LA, because he lives in England, but I finally met him. He walked into not the Comedy Store. Where was I? I forgot which club. I have to think about where I was, but I was in a comedy club in LA and he walked in. I'm like, it's you. I said, you're the guy responsible for me getting into comedy. And he just went, is that, I apologize. But not really. Like I didn't try to emulate anybody. I certainly admired, a lot of people and thought, holy crap, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's why I worded it the way I did. Cause sometimes when I watch comedians, I can see like an homage to different people. It's like, okay, I know
Well,
Okay.
it's funny. I've been compared, like people say, like Richard Lewis,
Right.
but I don't think I'm consciously trying to channel Richard Lewis. But
Right.
you know, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I've never tried to. I mean, they say that with musicians, like you try to emulate the greats in their style and then develop your own style. But I think with comedy, it was just me. But to be quite honest, I mean, if you think back to the beginning of the comedy boom, that whole New York Jewish neurotic thing
Yeah.
is like we were all, Paul Reiser,
Woody Allen.
Woody Allen, Richard Lewis. I mean, everybody was that New York Jewish neurotic sensibility. So,
Now, I now because like I said, I didn't hear any particular real influences, so to speak, which to me is that's a credit because that means you found your voice and you're not channeling or trying to be like somebody else. Um, now, next page. Okay. um, I guess I'm trying to decide if I want to jump around or let's stick with. Let me skip to the documentary, and then we'll come back to comedy. How's that?
sure, whatever you need, whatever you want.
Okay. Well, one is $1 million in small untraceable
yeah,
bills.
yeah, me too.
You see, I'm not even greedy. I'm not greedy. I'm not like I don't need $1 billion. I couldn't spend $1 billion. That's ridiculous. I could spend 1 million.
So that's funny. I say that all the time. I go, so if I had $1 million, I could live off $100,000 a year. That's 10 years. I'm 67, 77. I don't care. I could die then. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like it's good. I don't need $1 million a year. Just give me $1 million and I'll live off of that for the next 10 years.
Now, okay. Now, I'm sorry. I said I was going to go to the documentary, but I accidentally lied because your kids are teenagers. Were they aware of your comedy routine, of your comedy career, and did they think you were funny?
Well, I mean, before I answer that question, there's a great, I always remember this Richard Pryor on the Tonight Show talking about driving his kids to school, and he's driving and they're in the back seat talking about funny comedians, and they don't even mention their father. And he finally says, "What about me?" And they look at him like, "You're not funny." Like, so I don't think most kids ever see their parents. Now, when I was little, I made them laugh, but I could say Oogie Boogie and they would laugh. Or when they were in like first grade and like parents would come into the class to read to the class, I would always do silly shtick and, do funny things with the chair I'm sitting on and the book is upside down. And so everybody, my kids, their friends thought I was hysterical, but I don't think they quite got it, like they finally, I mean, they saw that video, they saw the Gotham thing. But they were too little. They never came to see me live anywhere. I don't even think they would get it. And now, of course, I'm not funny anymore. So,
Now, when you were doing comedy, who was the hardest person in your circle to make laugh? So if you made them laugh, you knew you had gold.
Wow. I'm not sure I had that in that sense. What I had was, which is really interesting because it's really parallel to what Johnny Carson went through. Not that I'm comparing myself to Johnny Carson, but Johnny Carson.
Yeah, you had fewer wives.
That too. Johnny Carson's mother was apparently like the first, like there was a reporter that went to the mother's house, to interview her, and he's on TV. And, this is the early in the Tonight Show, and he does his monologue, and the reporter turns to the mom and says, "What do you think?" And she just said, "He's not funny." And she left the room. His whole life, he could never get his mother to like, "Mom, I'm fucking funny." And I think I was like that a lot with my parents. I mean, I think I finally got them like eventually to accept or to acknowledge that I'm not horrible. And like I once heard my mother from a cousin. She went, "He's no Alan King." I was like, oh. But it's like Ray Romano said, if my parents hugged me once, I would have never been. If my father hugged me once, I would have been an accountant. So getting my parents' approval was really difficult.
Now, who's the funniest person you know who's not a comedian?
Oh, easy question. And this is going to sound really, every cop, every nurse, and every fireman I've ever met. And I'll tell you why. So I had the coolest job I ever had, and it was while I was, early on. I was a New York City EMT, and I worked at a hospital called Jamaica Hospital. And so I was around cops and firemen and nurses all the time. And it's really dark humor,
Yes.
It's sort of whistling through the graveyard is the expression. And they were some of the funniest people I have ever met in my life. ER nurses, firefighters, and cops. I mean, cops especially, just really dark humor really dark humor, but just hysterical. And their timing was ridiculous. I'll tell you the best story. This is, oh my God, this is so irreverent. I'm having a stroke as we're talking here. So there's two stories, but the one that really comes to mind first is this girlfriend or fiance can't get in touch with her boyfriend. He's not, she calls the mom. The mom hasn't heard from the son either. So it's now been like 4 days. He's MIA. They don't have a key to his apartment. They call the police department. The police department brings us along just in case, cardiac arrest or something. So the superintendent, they open the door. They tell the parent, the mother, and the girlfriend, stay here. In the bedroom, the guy is he's dead. He's wearing a sundress. He's in a wig and makeup and a sundress, and he did the auto asphyxiation.
Right.
But he went a little too far. So he strangled himself. He's dead wearing women's clothes. And the fiance comes running in, she's screaming, the mother, and now we're back out in the living room and everybody's hysterical and they're taking paper, doing the paperwork. And the cop just innocently turned to the mother. It's like, was your son, not knowing this was the fiance, was your son a homosexual? And the fiance went, he was not, he was normal. And he went, oh, and this is normal? I see. And this is normal. Like, oh my God. I had to leave. I had to go in the hallway. I mean, holy shit. Here's one. Here's a great one. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This guy got a curtain rod stuck up his butt. And as we walk in, the cop says, I'm listening to the cop. He goes, let me see if I got this straight. You're laying in bed, minding your own business. Somehow, the curtain rod got detached from the curtain, jumped across the room into a vial of Vaseline, bounced back onto the bed, and you just casually rolled over and it went up your ass. Is that the way you want me to write this? I mean...
And then you go, yes, except for it wasn't Vaseline.
That's exactly what happened. Yes. Oh my God. They're really funny. That's all. Yes, they're funny. But wow. I feel like some of the funniest people, I mean, I'm sure you have too, you meet people that have such an amazing dry, oh my God. My cousin's daughter she's young, she's in her 20s. She was in Parkland High School in Florida during the mass shooting.
Wow. Okay.
She was there. She is an amazing human being. So this last year, June, when my girls graduated high school, she came to the graduation. She's sitting next to me. And the superintendent is making a speech and talking about how lucky everybody is. You survived COVID. You survived the lockdowns. You survived this. You survived that. And she whispers in my ear, when you survive bullets going by your head, then get back to me. Oh, you survived COVID. Ooh, how about the dead fucking body next to me? How about that? By the way, I'm encouraging her to go into stand-up comedy. She has she is comedy gold. She has two siblings. The three kids, she and her brother are both gay. And so they talk about the straight kid as being the freak in the family. You're an embarrassment that you like girls, But between that and Parkland, like surviving a mass shooting,
Yeah.
comedy, and she lives in Manhattan, so we're trying to get her to do stand-up. And I've told her this to her face, I don't want her to become successful because then I'll feel bad. Like, fuck, I was supposed to be successful.
Well, you could always be her agent and say, I made her.
I don't want to do that. I have a soul. I can't be an agent.
Now, so I did. Now I want to talk about the documentary. I'm going to show the clip from the beginning, and then we can talk about the documentary.
Cool.
Okay, here we go.
Have you ever noticed since the creation of Zoom, people put their guitars in the corner?
Yeah, like you?
Yeah, and so do you. And that means we're part of this conspiracy. I don't even know what the conspiracy is. And it's not just people like you and me. It's Andrew McCabe, Harry Litman, Dr. James Phillips. The list goes on.
So wait, you think there's a conspiracy behind the mindset to put a guitar in the corner of a Zoom?
You never see a bagpipe.
They put a guitar.
It's not just Zoom. Think about how we met. You put me in a commercial with a guitar. It doesn't matter what you're selling. Adult diapers, ED meds, want to go to college? Play the guitar. Need a loan? Can't pay back that loan? Bipolar meds? Play the guitar. Itchy skin? Build a guitar. No health problems? Live to 100? Play the guitar. Come on.
You know what, Randy? I am quite impressed with the evidence that you've presented. You can't be the only person thinking about this.
Oh, there's no way I'm the only person, but I'll tell you right now, we're the two people that are going to get to the bottom of this.
Now, even though the documentary has nothing to do with, well, I'm not going to say it has nothing to do with comedy. There is, to me, it's comedy adjacent.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah. So, what was? Did you actually just notice that in Zoom calls the guitars were there, and is that what started this, or what? How did it actually start?
Yeah. So, and it's, to me, this is so exciting in the sense that I was out of show business. Like, I wasn't a comedian anymore. I tried writing. I spent forever to write a novel that went nowhere. In fact, when I think 2 years ago, I got my first tattoo.
Okay.
To sort of commemorate being a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
I really truly miss being in the creative world. I sort of hate the real world.
Yeah.
If I knew, I mean, I can't really say this for sure because I love my children and my wife, but like, I don't know if I would have ever really left the creative world if I knew what kind of bullshit the real world was. But,
Right.
like, I wouldn't have kids. I wouldn't live in a house. So, whatever. So what happened was I needed some kind of creative outlet. And my kids, when they were little, started taking like piano lessons and bullshit and, violin. And I was kind of jealous. Like, I would drive them to the music school and sit there. Like, so one day, so they quit, but we had paid for like 15 lessons that we just had. So I said to my wife, can I take guitar lessons? And she thought, look, they might as well get used. You'll do the 15 lessons. It'll be over. This boom. It was like stand-up comedy. This stuff. I picked up a guitar and I went, holy shit, I love this. So and that was 9 years ago. I've been playing the guitar ever since. I suck, but I don't care. It's just for me. So part of my love of the guitar, when I guess the first thing was, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place.
Oh.
As you know, as a comedian, the thing about comedians is we have the ability to watch life from the corner of the room. Yeah. So you could be in a fight with your wife, and while you're having that fight, you're watching the fight going, I got a new joke right there. That's what. And so I was so obsessed with the guitar, I started noticing the guitar everywhere. So I started at first noticing it on commercials. And what cracked me up about the commercials, there's one great one for adult diapers. So here's this guy on stage rocking out, and he's he's older, so the woman in the audience is older, and she's a hot MILF, and she's staring at him, and of course they leave together. So you could shit in your pants, but if you play the guitar, you're going to still get laid.
No one's going to smell it.
So I saw these commercials, so everywhere it was, ooh, guitar, ooh, guitar, ooh, guitar. Then COVID hit. And immediately, you'll know my politics right away because I was glued to CNN and MSNBC. I would constantly see like Andrew McCabe, the deputy director of the FBI, guitar behind. And by the way, that's what really started this. Jared, my film partner, pointed out to me that I talked about McCabe a million times because to me, if you're the director of the FBI, there is nothing cooler. I mean, he used to be on the FBI SWAT team.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, he can kill people with a dull spoon, and yet it's like, I have a guitar behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started noticing there. Then, because of COVID in the lockdown, when we had like parent teacher night, we did it through Zoom. And what did I do? I put my guitars behind me, and my kids would tell their teachers, make sure you compliment my father's, because they stay in the case. But every time I do a Zoom, they come out, I position them, everything is moved around. And as a comedian watching from the corner, I realized how ridiculous that is. It's so ridiculous. It's silly that I'm like posing my guitars and stuff. But it was just an idea in my head. It wasn't going anywhere. And then I did this commercial, a local Long Island commercial, and Jared was the director. Now, Jared has done real films. He has a great film called Sandpaper. If you like, and it's based on a true story. It happened to his sister. So it's a really freaky movie. So if you look up Sandpaper, great movie. Anyway, so he's won Emmy Awards, the whole thing. So he was at my house. He saw the guitar. We put the guitar in the commercial. And we became friends. We bonded over the guitar. And about like 3 months later, I let that idea out. I said, I have this crazy idea. And I pitched the idea based on what I saw. And he kind of smiled and sort of dismissed it. Like, yeah, that's really clever. And that was it. And then I feel it was like a year later, I was watching Netflix, and they had a series that was the same people that did Law and Order. So it was like Murder, New York. So it was real life, real time, real murders and interviews with the real detectives that were on them.
Okay.
And this one thing, this New York detective, this guy he was at a central casting. I mean, if you want to think homicide detective, this is the guy. He's this big burly guy, and he's now retired in North Carolina. And the only thing behind him was a freaking guitar. I lost my mind. I called Jared and I said, listen, I'm telling you, we have something here. We got to meet. And if you don't want to do this, I'll find somebody else, which I know.
Well, of course. You threatened him.
So we literally met like a couple of days later. Now, initially, this was supposed to be like a 10-minute fun little YouTube video just for shits and giggles. That was it. But the way I did the college circuit, where I'm on the phone, I'm doing this, I approached this the same way. I wrote down all the famous people that play guitar, all Andrew McCabe, all these people on TV, all the commercials, and I found out who the production company was for the commercial. I mean, this whole thing, and I started reaching out, and very quickly got all these. I mean, there were plenty of people that didn't want to have anything to do with it. In fact, that cop, I was able to get to that cop in North Carolina. He didn't want to have any. Good luck with that. I'm not interested because I'm a cop. I wouldn't be a cop. Whatever. But it became this creative, fun outlet. It was all the thoughts I had in my head that came out, and so that's where the humor is. We didn't know what it was going to turn into, but it's sort of. I think when we were on the other show. Jared had said he saw it almost like a comedy routine.
Right.
It really started off as one thing. Like, have you ever, like almost like Seinfeld going, have you ever noticed, you got the guitars in the corner, but it sort of morphed in the love of guitar. And then we kept on trying to put in comedy along the way. Like the whole thing with how many guitars do you have?
Right.
And I had the fewest. Then I had 3. I only have 2 now. So I feel really insecure.
Hi. I'm GD Fenderson, certified forensic humorist and host of Done Way Past Funny. Thank you for watching our continued interview with Randy Levin, former comedian and co-host of the documentary String Theory, Guitar Obsessed. And please come back to watch more of our interview with Randy Levin. And when you come back to join us, bring a friend.